Welcome to this week's Co-working Live. Happy first Monday in March, which means it's our board meeting. So we're going to share our spring cleaning strategy, what we're getting rid of in March. We're going to review what went wrong, what worked in February, but also, get rid of some of those plans from the January New Year, New Me kind of things and all our hopes and dreams. We're going to be evaluating that. We're also going to talk about our traffic, what revenue is looking like, but also our plans for March and maybe a sneak peek into Q2 ahead. But we're also going to talk about news, okay? There is big news in the podcasting space. You're going to want to tune into that. Instagram is also testing out a new feature, a new standalone app. What does that mean for us as content creators? There's lots we're going to talk about. So if you're watching the replay, use the timestamps. Let the timestamps guide you so you can go to the sections that matter to you most. But I'm just going to tell you right now, you need to listen to everything because there is just so much happening. First off, let's do our February audit. What worked for you in February, Fran, but also what didn't?
Nothing worked for me in February. I'm going to be honest, though, that was a me problem, not necessarily. Obviously, sure, traffic generally is down from, the high of the end of the year and all that. But I was mostly checked out the whole month of February. Like I started off with all the best intentions. And I was just telling Victoria before, I sent a newsletter out yesterday, and it was my first newsletter since February 1st. So the whole month of February, I didn't send newsletters, which also translates to no traffic from what I would normally get from those newsletters. So all of that to say, I am the problem. The problem is me. And this was basically all because of my headspace, real life, just all of these things. And I made the decision to give myself the space to say, listen, I am checking out of this, and that, which meant newsletters, which meant I did some blog posts, but not a lot. And most of checking out from social as well, because I think it's been like 3 weeks since I posted on Instagram too. So it's me. I am the problem. And that is fine, because I feel like this month I gave myself the space to do the things that I needed to do for my mental space and what worked for me. So that is totally fine.
Yep.
I knew what I was doing, because obviously I know the traffic's going to go down.
I know. I mean, first of all, I want to say hi to Tiff. Hi, Tiff. Thanks for joining today's board meeting. And thanks to all of you that are here at Co-working. Continuing in the February audit, I would say my biggest thing is I'm always trying to do too much, okay? I felt that in January. I kind of pared down in February, but then I also have some seasonal projects that I know I have to work on. So there's also that. I had moments when I was feeling a tad bit overwhelmed. I will say that. My big change, so my spring cleaning is simplicity. It's not just the platforms, because I felt like, okay, I cut the platforms, I cut the content I'm doing. I'm still not making enough room for the mental work that is required to create these pieces of content. The truth is, it does take me a long time when I'm trying to put together a long form YouTube video, because I did a deep dive video. It was an hour, and that was basically like little bits over a week to get that together, and then the mental bandwidth. So I'm simplifying, I'm cutting platforms, but I'm also cutting content, which I know probably isn't best practices. All the experts out there are like, you need to be posting more and more. Actually, I think I'm going to be posting less.
Mm-hmm.
I've been religious with my newsletters. I fell off on my segments halfway through February. So I think I'm going to be creating less. I was talking to Francesca about YouTube, not this YouTube channel, for our blogs. And I was just saying, you know what? I am going to reduce the amount of videos I'm uploading. I'm also going to reduce my blog posts, but be more intentional with it. Like I'm still going to hit probably 12 pieces of content that are new a month. But I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it stretch so I can promote on socials. But yeah, I think I'm doing too much is essentially it.
I think that we are always trying to do too much. And as content creators, we have all these ideas. So I think that that is normal, that you want to do so many things. But at the end of the day, I think the thing that I am coming out of this month with is I want to make sure that I'm curating that experience where not only am I providing information, but I am also providing more of myself in the content that I am creating. So that has been kind of a goal in, yes, putting out less content, but more content where I am delivering value while giving you something about myself. So
yeah,
that's kind of the headspace I'm at for March for sure, but definitely reducing. less is more.
Yes.
Less is more.
Yeah, less is more. And I feel like that's where it's going. So it might require you more time. I guess that is what I'm trying to say. Like, as you're talking, like it's making sense in my head. Creating quality pieces of content that's going to reach people. Because like that one video I told you, like I was doing little by little by little over 1 week. It turned out to be, I think 60, 70. It was like a 75-minute video. It has been delivering value. Like I am finding my people. I know it sounds long and you're like, who the hell is consuming that? Well, guess what? My people are finding it. And I'm like, okay, great. So it's making peace with that. I'm not in the, you know how people talk about fast fashion? We've been in fast content. So I'm trying to get more in my staples bag. So yes, it might take me longer, but it's good. And more importantly, it can last longer. So it will be there for the test of time. It's like that pair of, jeans, trousers you have for like 5 years, 10 years. You know what I mean?
Yep, for sure. For sure. I think that that is probably a big shift. And also, like you were talking before about the platforms, what I found interesting in February is as much as I was trying to pare down what I was doing and not doing as much and not being on social, and I took like almost 3 weeks not posting on social, the one place that I didn't find it difficult to create content and I was able to stick to was YouTube. Oddly enough, creating long form videos was still easy to do. And even the blog posts that I was putting out were more thought pieces and more like personal things versus trying to hit a keyword. So I think that, and even I did all this stuff and I didn't share half of it. And I took pictures for Instagram and I didn't share them. And I made shorts and I didn't share them. So like I was a mess. But all of that to say that there's also going to be the places where you struggle and where you don't, even in those times where you're feeling like you need to hold on a second. Hold on. I got somebody here.
Oh, okay. Long story short is I think we need to rank our platforms, if that makes sense. So there are certain platforms, it's easier for you to show up. For me, Instagram is always easy for me to show up. It's like, I don't know, it flows. I know one post is a touch point post. Another post is like, comment this and I'll send you the link, and it drives traffic to the blog post. So I don't know, Instagram is easy for us, for me. YouTube was working for Fran. Let us know in the comments what platform comes easy to you, because I always say, like, even though we need to be in multiple places, we need to be okay with falling off on some, but then we have our core platform that feels good and that feels easy. So in my case, Instagram feels easy.
I may have to check out because there's people from the city doing some work and it's doing something with the water. So I'll be right back.
Okay, no worries. See, people, this is a live show, okay? It's a live show. Francesca had to dip, but she'll be back. But anywho, I'll just move on. The next topic that we had to cover is our February numbers. Now, when you're paying attention to traffic, especially blog traffic, newsletter traffic, social traffic, it is natural and normal for traffic to dip around February. And my traffic definitely dipped. So traffic dipped around, I would say 20%, on some platforms up to 35%. So if you're experiencing a traffic dip, just know that is completely normal and fine. It's just a part of, the seasons, so to say. Another slow period that people need to keep in mind when it's not a holiday period, because that's busy. Summer is also notoriously busy. So that's a good time for you to think ahead and plan that kind of work. So always think about that as well. But also don't get too down. If your content is dipping right now, just keep chugging along. I know sometimes we can attach our feelings to the content. If it's not doing well, you think, oh my God, I'm the problem. The problem is me. No, that isn't always the case. So always, kind of have that in mind. Another thing on our agenda was to talk about March plans. Like, what are we doing for March? Now, here's the thing with March. March is super scary. It's a scary time because you're at the end of Q1. And you know how you had all those hopes and dreams at the start of the year and just everything you're going to do and everything you're planning. Well, now is when reality starts to set in, but now is also the time when you really need to double down on the content. So don't stop because of the February dips. Just keep pushing along, because when things happen, it happens all at once, and you're wondering like, whoa, did I just blow up? Or did, you're watching someone else's content and you're like, oh my God, they just blew up. No, usually it's compounding effects, right? So my March plan, because I wrote down little notes, my March plan is to create less. I'm prioritizing 3 platforms: my blog, my YouTube, and my Instagram. Yes, I have Facebook. Yes, I have Pinterest, but I'm not going to make that my priority right now. Pinterest is on a little mini autopilot. I'm not very focused on it right now, which is not necessarily a good thing, but it's just where my bandwidth is. And I'm being honest and realistic about that. Because I'm very focused on building brand, I want to be on Instagram. Taria had shared Instagram and YouTube are about the same for me. Hi, I'm new here. Well, hello, welcome. So glad to have you as a part of the live. I like when people share like the platforms that come easy to them. Instagram is easy for me. Why? Because I know I have like my buckets from the Fix Your Brand Challenge, which I know we talk about all the time over here. But I have my buckets from that. So I have a wide variety of things I can pull from. Another thing people don't often say is that use old photos and old videos on your camera roll. Because low-key, people feel sometimes like they need to create new, and it needs to always be new. I think we need to get into our repurposing space. So if you have a picture, if you have a video, if you have any piece of content that has some relevancy to what you're talking about now, just because you took it a year or 2 years ago doesn't mean you can't post it. So that's the era I'm in, because sometimes I don't feel like being on camera. When it comes to Instagram, I don't feel like taking a new picture or doing a new video. So this is where I pull from the archives. I will pull my version of stock footage. Sometimes you might have gone to an event, you've taken a little video, you went to a park, you went to a beach, you went somewhere on holiday. Just use that content. It is still good. It is still valid. For my blog posts, I'm trying to get a minimum of 12 posts up every month, new pieces, but I'm also trying to update 12 as well. YouTube. So I had grand plans of posting 2 YouTube videos, but the truth is I also go live with Francesca every week. So I'm just going to drop down my YouTube to 1 video a week, and we still go live once a week. So I think that's going to be enough for now, because again, I want to spend more time creating good content, like deep content, not something that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Like just quick. Again, the best way I can describe it is like a fast fashion kind of thing. So if I spend more time creating good content and it can last longer, then that means, I can get more life out of it, because right now I am repurposing old blog posts, and sharing them today, even though I made them years ago. So those are the pieces of content I want to focus on. And Francesca popped back in, so let me get her up here. Bloop, she's back.
Oh my God.
I know. Listen, it's alive, people, and we have lives. Okay, so I was just sharing my plans from March, but just kind of double back real quick on what the numbers were looking like for you in February, but also what you're planning to do in March. I was saying I'm just focusing on 3 things: Instagram, YouTube, and my blog. I'm trying to get 12 blog posts up, 1 video a week. I mentioned we go live together, and I'm just going to make that be the second video. And 12 blog posts, I said that, and showing up on Instagram. What was your February numbers looking like, but also what was March looking like for you?
So my February numbers were not as different from January. Probably the drop was about 10% from January, but overall from like the peak of December, I would say we are at like a 35 to 40% drop. But all of that to say that from January to February, there wasn't a big difference. And I was fully checked out. I wasn't putting the links anywhere. So I think that overall, that's not a huge drop, considering that I wasn't doing a lot of the work to get people there. Now, what I am going to be doing different, obviously, I'm going to send emails because I was terrible at that. I'm actually going to be like, one of the priorities is going to be email. So I want to test out sending more emails. Usually I send one email a week to my regular list, and then I have segments. So obviously those have opted in for specific content and specific information. So they'll get something else. But I think I'm going to test out sending 2 emails a week and see how that goes. And especially with intention of like repurposing something old, or maybe one is more video and one is blog post. So I haven't really figured out how I want to do that yet, but I am going to test with 2. That's one thing. The second priority is going to be YouTube, but I am also going to be doing same like you. I'm going to be reducing to 1 video a week. Probably. There might be a bonus video here and there, but for the most part, it's going to be just the 1 video a week. And my third priority is probably going to be Facebook, although I will do trying to keep Instagram alive with one post over there, but it's not going to be a huge focus for March, at least. Definitely just newsletter, YouTube, the blog, obviously, like you, I'll probably try to stick to maybe 10 to 15 new blog posts. Mm-hmm. But also I want to get some of my old content that I have drafted, and like it's stuff that I've done 10, 15 years ago, and it needs to be updated. And there's really a lot of good information there that I want to get that out of the archive. So updating is going to be also a big thing. I think March and going into April, like Q2, Q3 is going to be big on updating for me.
I think Q2, Q3 is going to be, I agree on the updating. Usually summer, which kind of fits in both Q2 and Q3. Summer is usually my updating time, depending on your situation, for parents out there, the kids are out of school, maybe you have more free time during that time. I always have more free time in the summer because you don't have all those obligations, if that makes sense. Although technically you still got to be running around for like summer school and programs, extracurricular activities, whatever, camps, stuff. I love camps, especially if it's a sleepaway camp. So summer is normally great because you know why? The Super Bowl of content, of revenue and everything, that is the fall. Like, I think it really kind of starts in late August, but it really ramps up by September, straight to the end of the year, right into January. So I've historically used summer for updating. So we're going to be updating a lot. That is our February recap. Or outlook and plans for March. Essentially, we are simplifying, we are reducing, but we're also narrowing down. Again, when it comes to social media platforms, just like Taria had shared with us, the platforms that come easiest, you can share with us in the comments, let us know what platform comes easiest to you, but then also rank them. So if you don't create content for number 2 and number 3 or number 4 and 5, you don't feel too bad because your number 1 is on lock, or your number 1 and 2 is on lock. But we're going to shift gears because, again, it's a board meeting. So we're also going to get into some trends and some things you need to keep in mind. So I have to get my phone out for this because I don't be remembering all these things. So now we're going to get into March's traffic trends. We're going to talk about the things you should be creating in March, promoting in March, but also planning ahead for future months ahead. Because the other thing, the content game we're in now, is you're not going to get traffic from the content you post today. It's 30, 60, 90 days in the future. That's when you're going to get the most value. So for our March content plan, and this is based on content from last year, okay? If you are in the food and recipe space, remember St. Patrick's Day's recipes are huge at this time. I don't know about you, but I love me some corned beef and cabbage, all right? So if you have those recipes, soda bread, corned beef hash, shepherd's pie, love that. you should be promoting that, but also promote meatless meals. So if you're on the opposite side of the divide, people want that as well, because some people cut meat out for health reasons, some for others. But be sure to include that as well. We're also in the Lenten season. So again, meatless meals, meatless meals, because people tend to cut out that during Lent as well. Also, quick weeknight meals can never go wrong. So that's for our food and recipes people. If you're in wellness habits and self-care, reading lists and reading challenges for families and adults. It ties into the reading month of March. Also, sleep tips, routines, bedroom makeovers, because there's also sleep awareness month in March as well. If you're in the home, money and planning space, spring break travel ideas, spring cleaning and decluttering checklist, and spring gardening. Same thing in lifestyle space, spring cleaning, home organization, a major movie release. So if you care about these things, the movie Bride, which I think is the new version of The Bride of Frankenstein or something like that. I've been seeing the trailers everywhere. That is this month's largest release. Other major TV premieres, if you pay attention to that, Outlander is on its final season. I don't know the show, One Piece season 2. It's some live action thing. There's that. And also Daredevil Born Again. So in the month of March, you need to be promoting heavy these 5 things: St. Patrick's Day content, spring cleaning ideas, spring break travel, March Madness content, and women's history content. Now, what you need to update, because it's around the corner, very close around the corner, Easter content, because again, we're in Lent. Easter Sunday is coming up soon. I think it's the first Sunday in April this year. So you need to be updating your Easter content if you have it already. Tax day content. For folks in the US, April 15th, people still need that tax stuff. Cinco de Mayo content, if you have that, March 5th, you need to be updating that now. Mother's Day content, you need to be updating that now. Graduation ideas, update those posts as well. And finally, Memorial Day content. Now, planning ahead, because like I said, most of us will benefit from planning ahead and creating content for the future while promoting what's current right now. So what you need to plan is Father's Day content, summer travel ideas, and 4th of July content. I know it sounds like far, far, far away, but you need to be thinking about these things as well. From an affiliate opportunity, share links that have Easter baskets, candies, toys, eggs, books, games, anything tax and finance preparation, great affiliate opportunities, gardening, seeds, tools, soil testing kits, fertilizers, and all the things. And finally, eco-friendly and sustainable swap. So reusable bags, LED, light bulbs, and all the things. So that's just kind of high level what you need to be thinking about, planning, and promoting. Are you creating content in any of these things, Fran?
I definitely need to update my Mother's Day content. I also have some spring cleaning content that needs a little sprucing. So I probably will not be creating new because I do have some content. It'll just get updated.
Right. And if you're feeling pressured right now, like you're like, oh my God, that is a lot. Listen, I know, I just gave you a lot. If you don't have the content that you should be promoting now, if you only have some and you don't have a bunch other, it is fine. Update what you have currently, but then just leave it, just let go, and then move on to what you need to plan ahead. Yeah. Because you'll have more runway, you'll have more time, and you'll be less stressed. Okay, so that's it for our March traffic trends. Okay, so next thing on our agenda, this is a huge discussion point. It's the podcasting shift. So if you're a podcaster, or if you've been thinking about starting a podcast, or you've been in a podcasting game for a while and you're on the struggle bus, trust me, I get it. There's something huge happening right now, which kind of proves a thesis I know Francesca has been talking about for a long time. We have links in the video's description to some of our sources. Some of the sources in this case, let me tell you, coming straight from Spotify's newsroom. The Hollywood Reporter reported on some of this. And also Apple Apple, straight from Apple's newsroom. So Apple is a big podcast service provider. Spotify is a big service provider. And then Hollywood Reporter is just reporting an overall trend. And the trend we have is that video podcasting is where it's at. I know a lot of us listen to it audio wise. Some of us listen and watch at the same time. Podcasts are hot right now. Like, it's a huge commodity. In the span of a few weeks, so this is a summary I have from this thing, Spotify, Netflix, and Apple all made aggressive moves in video podcasting. And when you see these three platforms do that, it's not a coincidence. It's huge. Number one, Spotify just lowered the barrier to monetization on their platform. They reduced their eligibility requirements. So that means you need fewer listeners, fewer downloads, all the things. They're also making sponsorship management easier, meaning creators can now swap out ads, refresh their spots, and manage revenue more dynamically. So you have more control, which is kind of the direction content is going in right now. Mm-hmm. Spotify desperately needs more video inventory. They want creators like yesterday, and they're expanding their supply. Now, layer Netflix. Everybody knows the Netflix and chill, and they associate it with movies and series drops and all the things. Netflix right now is actively reaching out to agencies to sign those big video podcasters. You know, them videos where you see the people and their mic and they're just sitting there and they're talking, and they sometimes interview people and have guests and all of that. Netflix wants these people. They want a library. So I'm reading directly. They want a library of known shows before officially launching video podcasts on their platform. They've already also partnered with Spotify. So see, now Netflix is partnering with Spotify. They are positioning this as a competitive to their biggest competition, YouTube. And just in case you don't know this, YouTube is the largest platform, not just for video consumption, but podcast consumption as well. So these two are saying, look, if we come together, maybe we can knock YouTube and get some of that traffic, is basically the summary. So it says, when Netflix builds a library, they're signaling they believe this format will scale like television. And unlike YouTube, Netflix doesn't experiment casually. So this is something they really believe. And then the last update is Apple decided, listen, hold my beer. I'm joining this conversation as well. Apple is rolling out native video podcast on Apple Podcasts as well. So they want it to be where you can seamlessly switch between just listening and watching. They're going to have dynamic video ads as well. Full monetization control for content creators, distribution without forcing creators to change platforms as well. And again, when you think of people who don't really chase trends and experiment a lot, Apple, they don't experiment a whole bunch either. So when you see Spotify, Netflix, and Apple investing in video, what does this mean? This means it's no longer experimental. It means we all need to get into it. And I know you have thoughts, Francesca, because you've been like feeling the video for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when it comes to podcasts, it's interesting because here's the thing with YouTube, because I mean, video podcasts on YouTube have been a thing. YouTube had already the thing where like you can have on your back end, you can create a podcast, and that then goes, I think, is it on YouTube Music, or there's a separate app where you can go and you can switch between listening to it or watching it, as opposed to, obviously you can watch the regular video through YouTube. But I will say, when you're watching a regular podcast on video on YouTube, it doesn't have the same performance as when you're just curating the right type of video for YouTube. So there is a difference. Like if you just upload that straight video to YouTube, it doesn't have the same reach or the same retention, but that content is still good. Now, what I find interesting is that YouTube is not maybe necessarily the platform where people are gravitating to that type of content, but video is still such an important part. And we saw that obviously we saw it with YouTube getting into the podcast game and adding that whole feature, which you can actually integrate your RSS feed and it goes straight to YouTube. Now, if you do that and it's just audio, those are not going to do that great, okay? Because you need the video. So, I mean, from a performance point of view, those will not do good. I actually disable that completely on my feed. But I will say, the shift that I saw, and this is already like the Spotify thing is not new. Spotify has had the video for a while. I've always found it really like cumbersome because you have to log on to the back end of Spotify directly. So like you upload on your podcast hosting, your regular podcast, and then you have to go on Spotify after the feed, like it's now like it's available, you know, after it's processed and it's live on Spotify, you go on there and you can upload a video. And for the longest time, I was not doing it just because it's that extra step and it's a pain and all of that. Now, mind you, Spotify has always been the lowest, well, not the lowest, but one of the lowest platforms for my podcast. Apple Podcasts is probably 95% of my listeners. And in January, I started saying, you know what, I'm going to upload the video. I'm going to just stick to that. I'm going to go and upload the video after it processes so it's there. So I did that since probably middle of January, and my podcast on Spotify has grown. There's new listeners, like people subscribing, people downloading. Every single episode has downloads and listens now, whereas before it was like maybe not, but now there's like an active period of growth. And again, I just started doing that since middle of January. Now, another thing that they also have is clips, kind of like the shorts. So if you use for recording, for example, you use a system like Riverside, just to give you an example, it will automatically create a good clip for you. You can download that, upload that short on Spotify. I think you can only do one. There might be more. I don't know. I haven't been able to figure out how you do multiple, but I have also been consistently since middle of February with adding a clip to every single one. Again, all of these things I have seen a jump as I make these changes to add video content to the Spotify platform. I have seen a direct correlation to the listens and the followers on the Spotify platform itself. So I definitely think that there is a lot to be said for people wanting to consume that, but also the fact that obviously the platform is pushing it because the fact that it has a video versus not having video. So I think that that is something that is definitely worth exploring. Again, a video will not do the same when it's formatted as a podcast on YouTube, in my opinion, but you can try it.
See, here's the thing. So I agree with everything you're saying from the Spotify side. When you do upload clips, they're clearly pushing that your listens will increase because it was the same thing for me. Apple was most of my thing. I will say though, and not from my podcast, because I really haven't been paying that any attention over the past year, but what I will say is podcasters I know, podcaster friends that I have, when it translates on YouTube, it doesn't translate on YouTube for discovery. It was more of a brand thing. You go to YouTube because you want to visually watch the podcast interview, you want to see the sit down, you want to see the body language, you want to see the dynamics. So again, all roads lead to brand, right? So
but you will not need to do that now if the video is now available right on the Spotify app or on the Apple Podcast app, etc.
Which is what they are doing, which is what I was trying to say. So over the past 2 years, like I've seen them grow their podcasts because they were posting videos on YouTube. They would just normally, it used to be audio recordings. I used to be a guest on some of their shows, okay? And it used to be audio only. And then they transitioned and now they record everything. I mean, you could be in your car, you could be, you know, anywhere that's a mess, like nobody cares. And that's what I appreciated about them. Another thing is that they've been using lives. They've been going live. So some of my friends, like they'll do a Sunday live and they do a recap of the week and they post that. That's their episode and they post it on the video platforms and so on. So that's how it started. And then YouTube was getting all those views. And then all these other people are like, wait, people are not just watching video when they were searching. So essentially, my friends, they were the early pioneers. They were doing this from like 2 years ago. So that is part of the shift because people were posting in these two places. They realized once they were known, once they were discovered, they wanted to tune in. The good news is, like Francesca is saying, now these platforms are investing in it. It means they're going to push it, which means it's a great time for you to get discovered. So the biggest takeaway is, even if you were just sitting down at your computer desk right? Recording your podcast audio only. I highly encourage you all to turn on the video now, turn on the camera and get that content.
It doesn't
no,
have to look like a studio. First of all, you don't
no,
need 2 camera angles. You don't need all the
no,
fancy editing, because there's so
no,
many people that say that, like, oh, you
no.
need at least 2 camera angles. So like your switch, you don't need to do any of that.
Them peoples I'm telling you about, it was legit a Zoom. We are on Zoom. We're in front of our computers. And I'm telling you, they were doing this for 2 years ago. And now they have hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube, listeners across all platforms. But, you know, it became part of their thing. Like if you want to watch us, you know, see our facial reactions, I swear it was just little cues like that. They would say, then go over to YouTube. Now, people can switch on their phone and then they can see something, they can back something up, you know, like when you're doing something, you're like, hold on a second, and you back up and you get that. So don't worry about setting, because when I tell you, my friend, at the time, it was just a hot mess. So I highly encourage everyone to turn on their cameras. I also want to say one more thing towards the bigger trend, what this is also signaling. It is also signaling that short form content isn't where it's at anymore. Short form is to promote your long form. So we still need that, but it needs to be promoting the long form so people can go and consume you some more. Tiff is saying, so you're saying we need to film, like, for example, a YouTube video kind of podcast style. Sorry, I'm a little confused. I think the mindset needs, all right, 2 things are happening here. Number one, you need to decide, am I recording a podcast episode or a YouTube video? So for anyone watching and listening right now, you have to make that fundamental decision in your head first. If you say, I'm recording a podcast episode because I'm a podcaster, I'm a podcaster, I'm recording a podcast episode for my show, ABC. What you're going to do is you're going to sit down, just like we are right now. Maybe it's not a camera. I have a camera in front of me. Maybe it's you sitting in front of your computer, sitting in front of your laptop, and you just hit record. And if it's a solo show where it's just you talking, it's just you talking. If it's a Zoom, for example, where you have a guest, you hit record and you record the video and the 2 windows of just you talking. If you use Riverside, if you use whatever else is out there to record, that's what you need to do. But what Francesca is saying, and I'd love for Francesca to get into it some more, because I do agree with that fundamental difference, is if you are creating a video just for YouTube consumption, it is a separate approach than for podcast consumption. And what we're discussing as the trend today is podcasting specifically. So what I was sharing earlier was about how this came to be. Podcasters uploading their videos, they had built audiences with their podcast show. They've been doing it for years. They made that transition. Now Spotify, Apple, and Netflix want in on that. So you have to approach it. Everything is approached differently.
Yeah. I think a practical example, just to give you an idea, and also something to say, you can be both. You can have YouTube videos and you can have a video podcast. It doesn't mean that you're doing one and not the other. Obviously, that is more work to maintain with whatever schedule you choose. But for example, a YouTube video needs to work right now at first for browse discoverability. So for browse discoverability, you need to have a very clear intent of what that video is for, who it's serving, and what's the point that you're coming across in a way that's going to resonate with people that don't know who you are. And that video is just showing up on their feed because the algorithm thinks that that might be something they're interested in. So the algorithm needs to be 100% clear on what that piece of content is, so they know who to serve it to, because that is the biggest thing YouTube needs to do. Yes, your followers are there, but every single piece of content needs to serve some discoverability for the algorithm, needs to bring you new people. So that does take a very refined focus on what that video is. So on a practical example, say that you want to make a long discussion about the Interview with the Vampire TV show that is coming out in June. season 3 is coming out, and maybe you have thoughts on the differences between that show and some of the original movies from the 90s and the book, and you want to talk about all of these different things, and you have a lot of thoughts, you want to piece all these things together. That will not do as well on YouTube, because now YouTube is going to say, do I show this to people that are into books? Do I show this to people that are into movies? There can be some overlap, but I am confused. The more you confuse the algorithm, the less it's going to get pushed. You might get some discoverability, etc. Plus, it will most likely end up being a longer video because you're going deeper into an analysis. So your retention, meaning how long people stay watching that video, will be lower. If your percentage of the retention of how long people watch is lower, the algorithm will think that it's not as good of a video. So that probably will do worse on YouTube, but that will be a great podcast. That will be something that people will really gravitate to listen to on a deep level on a podcast. Now, you still want to record that video and you want to now place that, which now we will have the opportunity, is you upload that video on Spotify and on Apple when they launch that, which is going to be amazing. But that will be a manual thing, and you don't necessarily need to do that long video on YouTube. Now, on YouTube, what you can do is you do one video where you're talking about your thoughts on season 3, or which season is your favorite of the, Interview with a Vampire, the new show, the new AMC show, and you kind of rate those things. And then in that video, you tell people that I have this podcast where I go deeper into my analysis, where I compare all these things. So that would be kind of how the ecosystem will work, and what the difference will be in the different formats, I guess, if that helps.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And also, when you're strapped for time, because most of us here, odds are, if you are here and you're a part of our community, you are strapped for time. So what I highly recommend, because this is the direction I'm also going in, is you record that long form video, but because in your mind, you're going to cut a particular segment that is shorter, that is more algorithm friendly, that will be pushed, then you do that as well. So I would rather to sit down and talk for a whole hour and get that down, but I already know the points I want to hit. And then I'm like, okay, I can cut this chunk and post it as a short form video. But I'm looking at some of the comments.
Actually, you would post it as a long form video, but it's a clipping of your long podcast. The only thing you would have to do extra is you would need to record a little hook, the introduction at first. You would need to record that, so you're bringing people in, because now you're like dropping them mid conversation. So where you would record a little introduction, you would paste in that other piece from your podcast. You finish it off with your outro, and you're telling people that the whole deep discussion's over there. You put the link directly to your podcast or whatever, to Spotify, whatever you want in the description, and you're done. So that's all
YouTube packaging. That's YouTube packaging. That clip can work on Spotify. It can work on Apple. That is more a YouTube specific packaging. Terry is saying, this is such great info and things I've considered. I'm glad. Keisha is saying, sorry, I'm late. You might have already said this, but if you post on YouTube and you're calling your post a podcast, you need to post it correctly and label it a podcast. That was my mistake. I
don't think it makes that big.
I don't think it matters. No,
I haven't seen a big difference with that.
No, I haven't either. I think, because also you did say you were late. No, what we are discussing is the major shift between big networks, in a case Netflix, and big platforms like Apple and Spotify, shifting towards video podcasting. I mean, Netflix, we know for our movies and our series, but they are reaching out to big ad agencies now to have some big video podcasters.
I would actually encourage you guys to go on Netflix, because I did over the weekend. There's already shows on there. So I mean, they're the big name ones for now. But just go and see what they're doing. You are able to just browse through different topics of podcasts that they have available. And my thought is probably if they partner with Spotify, people will be able to search through that database of videos eventually.
Right. So Netflix for your television, it for your movies, it for your TV series. They're bringing on big podcasters, and part of the article, again, links to everything we're talking about. We have the articles in the video's description. they are reaching out to all these big content creators that you know and love, reaching out to their agents to get their shows on Netflix so you can actually sit and watch them interview people or just talk by themselves on there. So like Fran said, check out Netflix. On an Apple podcast, which we were more familiar with, Apple is rolling out a video feature. So they want, when you listen to the audio, I have Apple, I listen to Apple Podcasts. You know how you can switch now to like see the transcript as it's going along? They want it now where you can tap something else and you can switch to video. So instead of seeing the logo, you're going to tap switch and you're going to see video. Spotify, again, known for music, they got into audiobooks, they got into podcast. Now they have the ability in real time right now where you can upload the video portion of your show. So like we said, if you sit down in front of your computer, you sit in front of a camera, you click record, even though your audio focus, still capture that video of you talking, because Spotify has a place now where you can upload that. They also have a space for clips where you can have shortened video clip versions. And from Francesca's experience and so many other people I've heard, because I don't really play, I've posted over there, but I'm not consistent enough. But I've heard enough people say they're getting a push now through the Spotify system. They're getting more listeners now since they've started posting video. So what we're saying today is that if you are a podcaster and you are audio only, you need to start capturing video. They are trying heavy to compete with YouTube. And how the YouTube conversation happened is the fact that OG podcasters, people who've been doing this for 10 years, have over the past 2 to 3 years started posting their videos on YouTube and say, hey, if you want to go see me and blah, 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 go over there. All the other networks are realizing it and they're jumping on it. But when it comes to YouTube videos and you're a YouTuber, it's a different approach than a podcaster. So it's all about approaches. It's not necessarily putting this in YouTube backend and tagging it a podcast or stuff. No, it's all about
the content.
It's the context. It's the approach.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out the links in the video's description on that. Another major topic that we want to touch on is Instagram. Now, I like to joke, Instagram is like the ripoff app, you know? If you're of a certain age, you remember when Instagram dropped, it was all about pictures, right? You posted a picture, you scroll a feed. Then they came with Instagram stories. Then they started doing videos. We know where they got stories from. We know where they got video from. Well, guess what? They're still ripping off poor Snapchat, all right? So link in the video's description. Another news item is that Instagram is internally testing a Snapchat style disappearing photo app that they're going to call Instance. So this is not a feature that's going to be on they're going to make a whole new app for this. It's called Instance. It's going to be standalone. It will work for mutual followers only as of right now is what they're saying. Photos are going to disappear after opening. You won't have the option for like heavily editing things. And look, on the surface, it sounds nostalgic, but it's not really that. It's just meta kind of paying attention to the fact that, okay, this is what people are into. They're moving away from being a social network to be all about entertainment. So what they're saying is users have stopped posting publicly as much. They've noticed through their back end that people are sharing in DMs more than ever. So there's more like private sharing. So public feed is more like the entertainment bit. The private behind the scenes DM, they've noticed that's where people are connecting. And what happens when people connect? Retention. So they're saying Instance is not about like, and this is what they say, we will share our opinions, but they're saying Instance is not about competing with Snapchat, which if you all have teenagers in your life, you know, they are on the Snapchat. But what they're saying is about moving away from performing on your public feed and connecting so much more. So it's all about community. You can create story sequences, encourage conversation. And if Instance launches and creators have, you know, strong communities already built in, they're saying they will win. So it's not about the loudest accounts and the people who have the most followers. It's about people who are more connected with their audience than ever, because their goal is relationship building. What do you think about Instagram trying to get into the relationship building community space and testing their Snapchat version called Instance?
I mean, I feel like I'm going to be the old person here and say that I don't think that's going to work. I know that the kids are on Snapchat. Listen, they always say you should do what the kids are doing. Like that's what's going to dictate the market. But that is not new. So in my opinion, that would not be where I would put my eggs in that basket. Only because like what I would want to know is what are the kids going to do next, not what they've been doing for years. So to me, that is not going to necessarily give them the thing. And also from older generations, like which I consider myself, I don't know that they'll necessarily gravitate to that just because it is already not built in how we communicate. Like I would rather send that DM than post something that's going to disappear in 24 hours. So I think that we are not wired for that to work. So I think that's going to be one of their fails, which they've had many.
I mean, right now, Instagram stories disappear in 24 hours. What they're saying, it's like, that is more a public performance. Like stories are curated. Remember, when stories launched, the idea was the feed is curated and stories is a raw, unfiltered kind of thing. What happened is a lot of people started following a lot of accounts, and a lot of these big accounts have few people they are following. Does that make sense? So it's like the person with 5 million followers, look at their following, like how many people started making it like the flex is to have more followers, but you're following less. What they're saying is this app won't work for those people. It won't be about those big people who have all those people tuning in. It's like trying to do a reverse. I personally, I'm going to have to wait and see, because when I heard Instagram was launching their edits app to kind of counteract CapCut because of the bans and all the things that were happening, I'm just like, okay, you still can't do half of what CapCut does.
Yeah.
But then I realized, wait, they start pushing posts if you use edits and you publish through Instagram. So I'm going to wait to see how it really pans out, because I think it's trying to kind of go back to 2016 when you could actually see the things from the people that you are following in the order, even though they do have a thing now where you can go in on the back end and do that now if that's how you want your feed to be. But I think for community-centered content creators, maybe it could work, because it's a great way to be online, but not online, if that makes sense. Like you can't go back to it. It's just, you saw it, it's gone. I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of it here. I'm trying, but I'm tying myself up into a loop. I don't know. I do see the trend of people building communities off of social media. Like that is hot right now.
Yeah.
If you have young kids or teenagers.
Which in my opinion, what you're saying about posting something and it's going to disappear and you just saw it that one time, that is actually being more online than less. So in my opinion, that would be counterproductive to people.
No, but it's a message. No, but it's a message. So it's like it's like WhatsApp right now. People send me messages, but I don't see it until I open the app. So it's kind of like a message, because what they're saying is they realize more people are spending times in the DMs. That is where they connect. That is where they communicate. So what they're saying now,
have to be on the app.
Sorry?
Wouldn't you still have to be on the app, like this Snapchat equivalent?
Yeah, you'd have to log in just like you log into any other messenger. So what I'm saying is, I guess it's a difference between you creating, because remember, they have, what do you call this thing now? Broadcast messaging. The thing with broadcast messaging, I think it's an upgrade from broadcast messaging, because when you broadcast, you send it out there, they can't reply back.
Right.
With this, you're able to have that interaction.
Right.
without because right now half of the DMs are going into requests. I have legitimate people messaging me and it's not hitting. I don't know how this will work. I'm trying to give them a chance, but the more I talk about it, I don't think it makes sense. Let us know what you think.
It makes sense.
Do you think it makes sense?
I don't think it makes sense. I mean, it's also the reason why even the few broadcast messages that I have signed on for Instagram, and these are accounts that I genuinely like, but I unsubscribe from.
Yeah. I was just trying to see if I could pull up back the post to kind of see like, what was it saying?
I feel like the only big experiment that Instagram or Meta has done that has been very successful, besides buying Instagram, is Threads. And that came because it was like the perfect storm of timing where people were getting off of Twitter, and then Threads was the replacement. So I think that worked out because of timing.
I guess.
That's just me.
I guess. But yeah, they're saying it's a way to make it social again. It's a disappearing message. Instance can only be sent to followers you follow back. And you can't edit this stuff. Oh, no. Limited tests available right now to some countries globally.
That's really interesting.
So they're testing it right now in the built-in Instagram. But yes, it's standalone. Oh, wait, I get it. It's a standalone app. It's standalone photos. You can't post anything else, like no videos. So I guess they're trying to go back to that, but then you have the option to make it
But then you're going to have to go and follow people so that they see it. That's going to get messy.
I don't know. Y'all let us know what you think in the comments. Here comes Instagram again with something new. But yeah. Anywho, I think that is it. Yeah, let me check my notes. I think that is it for our March board meeting. Yep. I will say this. This is a common thread. The common thread I'm seeing with all these platforms is that we are moving away from, I don't want to say the masses, but yeah, we kind of are. Like in every platform is trying to be like, it's one ecosystem. So it's like you get this here, you get this there, you get that there. All these platforms are trying to be your one-stop shop. So like I said, back in the day with my friends, they do pop culture news and podcasting and all of that. They would upload their audio to their streaming, to their podcast host. It would distribute it to all the podcast platforms, and then they'd go upload the video on YouTube. But these platforms are saying, nope, we are going to do everything in this one thing. So I think that's something for a lot of us to think about. It's what platforms we want to double down on. It goes back to what we were saying earlier about less is maybe more, and just kind of narrowing down your focus.
Also because that's going to be more work until, pray to the gods that they do it so that you can upload that video to your podcast hosting provider and it naturally feeds, because Spotify has not been able to do that. I don't know if that is limitations or it's on their end that's how they want to run it. But otherwise, think about it. You still need the podcast hosting because you need to get that podcast in other players that are, the smaller players, which people still use. So you're going to have to upload to the podcast hosting. You're going to have to then wait for that to go through, however many minutes that takes. And then you're going to go on the back end of Spotify and upload that video, which does take a little bit of time if you're doing an hour podcast. Then you're going to probably have to go on the Apple Podcast back end, which I used to have to do that when I had my paid podcast, and I would have to go on there and upload manually over there. So like you're probably going to have to go and upload that video over there manually. The only thing that makes me think that maybe for Apple is going to be integrated is the fact that when I did have the paid option on Apple, the podcast hosting that I use did have an option that would integrate if I selected. So maybe Apple will be automatic, but otherwise it's a lot more work. I'm not happy about that part.
Listen, content creation is only going to get harder. If you all thought AI was it, no, 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 no. It's all these platforms as well. They're changing. They're doing new things. Some things are exciting. Some are confusing, like me trying to make sense of this Instagram of it all. But needless to say, we hope you hang out with us. We try our best to keep you updated. Let us know if there's anything noteworthy that you'd like us to cover and do as well. But again, it's a first Monday, so it's board meeting. However, next week and for the next 4 Mondays, because we have 4 more Mondays in March, we will be co-working. We'll be doing a Pomodoro style co-working. If you're new here, we work for 15 minutes. We take a 10-minute break. We do it again for a total of 2 hours. We also answer questions during that time. So maybe you heard some stuff today, you're stewing on it. Show up to co-working. Again, we respond to comments during the breaks and let us know your thoughts after you've stewed on everything we've shared today. What else is going on? We upload new videos on Friday as well, so be sure to check that out. And also just think about what are the main platforms you want to be on. You can't be on everyone. So just take some time, sit down, think about it. Also check out the Fix Your Brand Challenge, link in the video's description as well, if you want to get clear on your content. And yeah, I think that's it. Do you have anything else, Fran?
That's it.
All right, everyone. We will see you in the next video, but join us next week, Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern time for co-working. Bye.
Bye.